Hello and welcome to NW97 for another Destiny video. Today we are continuing with our breakdown with all the subclasses in Destiny. And we're going to focus on the Sunsinger. This video is going to be a little bit different with all the other videos because I'm going to not only make a breakdown, but also I am going to show you my build with the heroic raid coming out tomorrow on Tuesday if you're watching this. Right now, it's probably most likely to be uploaded as soon as Heroic's raid comes out. So let's get started. Okay, starting with the grenades. You have Solar Grenade, a grenade that creates a fire of solar light which continually damages enemies trapped inside. This is a lot like the Vortex Grenade with the Voidwalker and the Night Stalker, only it's solar. So, it's actually an okay grenade for PvE if you want to do AoE damage. But honestly, I don't think that's the best grenade for this subclass. Fireball Grenade, a grenade that unleashes a bolt of solar light at nearby enemies. So how this grenade works is you throw the grenade, and if the enemy is in like the vicinity of the detonation of the grenade, it will basically make a a solar like beam, I guess you could say, and it damages the opponent. This used to be extremely overpowered back at year 1 and most of year 2. But ever since Bungie realized that it was too powerful, it was nerfed. But they didn't nerf the grenade, but they nerfed a particular power up for the subclass, which I'm going to speak to you about later. This is an okay grenade because of the utility of what it was back then. But ever since Bungie had nerfed it, it's not the best grenade right now. Fusion Grenade, an explosive grenade that causes bonus damage when attached to its targets. This works like the magnetic grenade, only it doesn't do like the explosion twice, but it is a one-hit kill for PvP. This is actually a very good grenade for both PvE and PvP, and probably the best grenade for the Sunsinger right now. And I actually love this grenade because you could do certain builds with the grenade. Okay, starting with the jumps, you have Glide. Jump and then press X again while in the air to activate Glide. This is a lot like the Voidwalker, but with a very specific different set of glides. First, you have Focus Control. Upgrades Glide for better control while in the air. This is okay for, like, if you want to utilize it for PvP, but honestly, nobody really messes with this, and, like, I don't personally mess with it. So, unless you use a certain build with the Sunsinger, I honestly do not recommend this perk at all because, you have the other two glides it's a lot better than Focus Control. You have Focus Burst. Upgrades Glide to provide an eternal burst of speed. So when you jump with using Glide, you actually go forward a lot faster than you usually do with using regular Glide or Focus Control. So with Focus Burst, it actually helps a lot when you are getting out of a tough situation. Like, let's say a knight comes in with a sword and you jump away from it automatically. Well, Focus Burst is really good for getting out of those tough situations, especially in PvP. Also, this is good for going to, getting up to high places, just for staying for a certain amount of time. So, this is actually really good. I honestly recommend this out of all the jumps for PvP. Then you have Balanced Glide. Upgrades Glide, which provides to both speed and control. Now the thing is, some people think that like it's a mixture of Focus Burst and Focus Control, but the thing is that I actually don't really tell the difference between Focus Burst or Focus Glide. I do tell from PvE that I have more control using this, but I'm not sure if I have more speed with using it. I mostly use it for PvE because I use it. Apparently, it has more control than Focus Burst. So it helps me get on certain places like jumping, with like parkour or jumping puzzles and stuff like that. Maybe one day I'll make a video about it. The difference between balance glide, focus bursts, and focus control. So mostly, just for me playing Destiny, I mostly use balance glide for PvE and focus burst for PvP. Okay, to the super. We have Radiance. Fill yourself with solar light dramatically, increases the effectiveness of all of your abilities. So this is technically a roaming super, kind of like the Blade Dancer and the Gunslinger. So when you're using this, you're going to have a bonus to your armor stat. You get a much more higher cooldown with your grenades. You have a higher cooldown with your melee. Um, and what else was? And you get bonus abilities for the other bonuses you get with the tree perks. So, the first one here is Song of Flame. While active, Radiance reduces all cooldowns for nearby allies. So instead of you only having the cooldown with your melee and grenades, your other friends also get it as well. I'm not sure if it's the same as you do, but honestly, I think it's actually a bit slower than what you get. So, but it's still a very handy for certain situations. But the other two is actually a lot better than this one because this is really situational, so it's not going to be handy all the time. Radiant Skin. While active, Radiance reduces incoming damage. So not only do you get a bonus for the just using Radiance automatically to get your bonus stat to your armor, but you get an additional one to your Radiant Skin while having this on. This is very good if you want to focus on being a tank and throwing your grenades while being that tank and being hard to kill. So this is actually very good for PvP, and it's good for like 6v6s and stuff like that. So if you want to go in and throw a lot of grenades to your opponents, then it will make it so that it'll be harder for them to kill you. And my personal favorite right here is Fireborn. Radiance could now be activated from beyond the grave. Doing so returns you to life. Radiance duration is reduced. So for trading the duration of your Radiance, you are getting a bonus of self-resing yourself if you die. So this is very good for Trials of Osiris. This is really good for the raid, and honestly, it's really good for anything that you play at. Honestly, it's good for PvE, it's good for PvP, it's good for you getting out of tough situations, and it's actually kind of good for you doing little glitches with the Vault of Glass and Courtesan and stuff like that. You can see videos of all sorts of people using self radiance for different, you know, reasons for reviving yourself and stuff like that. Personally, when I do the raid, when I'm not using the other subclass, I mostly play Sunsinger using Fireborn, and just having me get out tough situations and stuff like that. But honestly, if you're doing Trials of Osiris with this, a little bit of fair warning here, be careful of self-resing, because if you don't catch your opponents off guard, they will kill you in a certain way, and if someone's like really good at PvP, they know how to kill you after you self-res. And I'm gonna also tell you a little tip right here. When you die and you self-res at the direction that you're pointing out with your ghost. So if you want to switch directions, you just use your right analog stick to turn, and make it so that you actually could self-revive in a certain direction, and it honestly helps a lot with PvP and with the Trials of Osiris and stuff like that. Okay, with the melee now. We have Scorch, a powerful melee attack that ignites enemies, causing damage over time. If you're familiar with Thorn, every time you shoot somebody, you get causing damage over time. This is a lot like what Thorn is, only in melee version. I think the damage over time is actually a little bit more stronger than Thorn right now, ever since, you know, recent tunings with the weapon with Thorn. So Scorch is good, especially with post-mortem thing. You know, post-mortems medallions. When you're using a shotgun, and then once you use your shotgun against somebody, then you use your Scorch, and if you haven't killed them, the damage caused over time will most likely kill them if you use a shotgun blast on them. Obviously, I'm referring to PvP right here. And the bonus, one of the bonuses right here is probably the best bonus that you can ever get with all the subclasses. Okay, so this right here is Flame Shield. Damaging an enemy with Scorch reduces incoming damage for a short time. So this is a lot like the Defender shield when you kill an enemy. But the only difference is that instead of killing an enemy, you damage an enemy and the shield automatically kicks in. This is very good if you want to proc with Radiant Skin and Flame Shield together when you're using your Radiance. And a little thing that you know, some people don't know is if you have your Radiance activated and if you melee somebody, it's a one-hit kill. So not only that you get a one-hit kill with using your melee while using Radiance, but you also get Flame Shield with that too, with the high armor, which makes you pretty tanky. So, you know, if you utilize this very, very well, then you are going to be very, very powerful during your Radiance. And not only if you if you use your melee while not your Radiance, it's still very handy because you still get that Flame Shield. Solar Wind reduces the cooldown of Scorch. Hitting enemies with Scorch knocks them back. So if you like the damage over time thing with your melee, then you should probably practice. But honestly, every Sunsinger that I have seen in all of my days of Destiny, I've never seen anyone use this, with the exception of, you know, messing with your friends, you know, knocking them back off of cliffs. Although I'm not sure about this, but last time I tried this, my friends didn't like get knocked back, so they might have patched it. I'm not sure. So if that was the case, then this little perk here would be useless. So, you know, keep that in mind. And also it gives you a bonus to recovery stat, which is, you know, if you want recovery like absolutely like maximized, then yeah, maybe. But honestly, Flame Shield is a lot better than Solar Wind. Then you have Brimstone. Reduces the cooldown of Scorch. Killing enemies with Scorch causes them to explode. So this is basically the same thing you get with reduce the cooldown with Scorch. But only this is killing enemies with your Scorch causes them to explode. So when you kill an enemy with your you know, Scorch, it causes them to explode and might do damage to other enemies as well. This is okay for, you know, certain situations of PvE, and PvP you might get lucky of killing somebody with this, but honestly, Flame Shield is still the best thing for melee with the Warlocks right now, and it's very powerful. Not to mention that Warlocks has the farthest range with all the subclasses, so Flame Shield, farthest range, and one hit kill with Radiance with a bonus of armor. That's very, very good. So always use Flame Shield, no matter what, both PvE and PvP. So these two trees right here, your skill trees right here, are your stat boosts for the Sunsinger. A lot of people like to switch around with certain stats with your armor, recovery, and agility, but I honestly don't care what kind of stats you do. Everyone's different. Personally, I like to have armor and recovery at the highest capacity because one, armor is really good, especially for the Sunsinger with Radiance, giving you bonus armor and plus Flame Shield, which gives you more armor. So you know, it helps you a lot of circumstances with PvP and stuff like that. So personally, I like to do that, and I also like to have recovery highest too because Warlocks have really good recovery, and recovery helps you a lot for PvP especially. Okay, so for this tree right here, we have extra bonuses for mostly your super slash, you know, abilities. So first we have Radiant Will. Increases the duration of Radiance. All this does is it gives you use radiance more longer than you usually do. This is very good for PvP. So if you want to use Radiant Skin, Flame Shield, and Radiant Will, then this is probably that's a very good build for PvP. Then you have Viking Funeral. Targets afflicted by the target takes more damage from all sources. Stacks up to 3 times. This is kind of similar with Melting Point, with the Sunbreaker. Then this could not only that it's kind of similar to that, but it stacks up to 3 times. And if I remember correctly, this gives you each stack gives you 5% more damage than you usually do. So in total, if you stack it up 3 times, it'll be 15% extra damage, which can be very helpful if you actually use your abilities against boss fast enough. Normally, you have to have certain exotic pieces to use like 2 melees or a grenade or 2 grenades and a melee to actually make this work. But most of the time, if you do this, throw a grenade twice and do a melee, then the one of the stacks will disappear. So unless you know a trick about this isn't really good. But I do know a way to make this very effective. I'll show you this in a little bit. Sunburst. Killing an enemy with Scorch generates Orb of Light. I used to use this the most at PvE because it actually helps my friends for using their supers. It's a very good perk, but honestly, I use Viking Funeral. This is probably the best out of all 3 of these for PvE, and I think PvP Radiant Will is the best for that. So Viking Funeral is probably the best out of these, and I'll show you why for PvE. Okay, so the last tree right here. You have Touch of Flame. All grenades ignite enemies, causing damage over time. So this only gives you the ability of causing damage over time with Scorch. What I forget to tell you about this is that Viking Funeral, if you only have this and not using this, you can't actually ignite them. You can only ignite them using your Flame Shield, which is a lot like Melting Point, like I said. So if you have this on, then grenades will actually make it so that you will ignite them and causing, Viking Funeral against your opponent. If you want to use the stack up to 3 times, like, fully, I highly recommend using Touch of Flame right here. You have Angel of Light. Aiming your weapon while in the air will hold you in a place for a short time. Personally, I'd never used this much at all, with the exception of certain skulls for the Nightfall. But I have seen some PvP players utilize this with a sniper, which actually, so when you use this while you're holding up in the air and then you aim in with your sniper, then it'll cause your opponent to be kind of wonders like, why is he floating around like that, or it just confuses your enemies a lot. So I have seen a lot of success for people using this perk. Same thing with the perk with the same thing with the exotic with Bullion Aphelion Bellicose, I think it's called, for the Titan, which is also it's basically the same thing with Angel of Light. So if you are somewhat interested with this, then you could use it if you want to. I've seen much success with this. Personally, I never used this much at all. Then you have Gift of the Sun. Gain additional grenade. This gives, if you're using a solar grenade, it gives you 2 solar grenades. If you use fire bolts, it gives you additional fire bolt. If you use fusion grenade, you get 2 fusion grenades. This is honestly probably one of the best perks out of all 3 of these, but personally I like to use Touch of Flame, which I'll show you for a good reason. Okay, time for recommendations for the Sunsinger. Okay, for exotics, I recommend using the Claws of Ahamkara because you get an additional melee charge. This is specifically for PvP, because if you have this, you get 2 melee charges, and if you get Gift of the Sun, you get 2 grenades, which you get 2 grenades and two melee charges, which it could be very effective in PvP. I've used I used this build for the past week for the Trials of Osiris, and I've been pretty successful with it. So if you want to be kind of cheap using flame shields and fusion grenades that's one hit kill for everybody, hey, go crazy on it and then have fun. Okay, another recommendation I have is the Heart of Phrastic Fire. So when you throw your grenades while you're in your radiance, you get your grenade almost automatically. While with this chest piece here, you actually get it even more than that. Plus, it gives you an increase in agility while using this, you know, chest piece. So if you want to jump around like crazy, hey, you could do that. This also works for your melee as well as with your grenades. So this makes it so that you throw more grenades than you usually do. So if you want to use this for PvE or PvP, hey, that will work. Especially if you're not using Gift of the Sun using additional grenade. And also another recommendation I like to use is Void Investments. I know you're probably saying, okay, why do you want me to use a Void Walker chest piece? Well, that's because you still make use of this exotic perk. You spawn with an additional grenade. You spawn with a full grenade when you revive. And if you utilize your self-res a lot in PvP, then you're always going to have a grenade in your disposal, which is always a kill if your aim is true. So if you want to use that, that's actually a good idea. And also a good recommendation is the Ram. This actually makes you gain increased armor while using this. This is also a Voidwalker Pacific helmet, but it gives you increased armor, and also makes it so if you're a Voidwalker, you get lifesteal every time you hit somebody, so you don't even have to use a charge. This gives you increased armor. If you have Radiant Skin, Flame Shield, High Armor, and increased armor, then you're gonna be a running tank machine. Another recommendation I use the most for PvE specifically is Starfire Protocol. This used to be not such a good chest piece because you could automatically get additional grenade with Gift of the Sun with the subclass. But ever since the recent update with the Sunsinger, you could use Viking Funeral and Touch of Flame, and you can, while using that, and you can keep using 2 grenades while using those 2 perks at the same time. And no, if you have Gift of the Sun and Starfire Protocol on, you will not get 3 grenades. You will only use 2, and that'll be a waste of a perk. So, my favorite build for PvE is, this build right here. You have Fusion Grenades, Fireborn, Flame Shield, and you have Viking Funeral and Touch of Flame. This is probably the 2 most important perks out of all of this build, because you actually give off more damage while using your grenades, which you're using Starfire Protocol, and you get Touch of Flame while using your grenades. Actually helps you a lot. And also, a little trick about this is that if you use a fusion grenade and Viking Funeral Touch of Flame with Starfire Protocol, you'll be able to throw a lot of grenades to a boss, and you will do a lot of damage while in your radiance. So if you want to utilize your Sunsinger a lot, so you should probably use Radiant Will to increase the duration of Radiance, but then you'll get your Viking Funeral off. So keep Viking Funeral, keep Touch of Flame, use Starfire Protocol, use your super, and just throw a whole bunch of grenades at a boss, and you can do a lot of damage while giving a bonus to your teammates while you're throwing your grenades. This does a lot of damage. I think Dado had done a video on how much damage you could do with a fusion grenade while using this build, and I personally love this a lot. It helps me a lot with bosses, especially for the Wrath of the Machine and stuff like that. Okay, that is the breakdown for the Sunsinger, and I am now going to show you my build for um, the Wrath of the Machine heroic mode. Okay, so here's my build. Uh, I will use Chaos Dogma for my primary, and this is a very good weapon. I am going to make a review of this weapon soon. This gives you triple tap and triple double. So triple tap gives it so that when you make 3 precision kills, you will get one shot, one bullet come back to the magazine. And if you have triple double, this will do the same thing, only you get an extra bullet instead of one. So you get 2 bullets instead. Extended mag is probably the most recommended, perk for this tree right here. And for these 2 trees, it really doesn't matter what I want. I actually like linear compensator because you have the most stability out of this. And so the second weapon is the Devil's Dawn, which is the sniper you get from Sepix Prime. And then obviously you get Gallahorn slash Sleeper Simulant, depending on what situation that I do in the raid. And then obviously I would choose Starfire Protocol with the Sunsinger to utilize the grenade strategy for getting bonus damage, which will probably help a lot for the heroic strike. And plus I have my boots that helps me with my sniper rifle, which for my Devil's Dawn, and then it gives me more heavy for my Gallahorn slash Sleeper Simulant. I also have Memory of Scory, which helps me a lot with my friends because when my grenade is full, I give more super energy to my allies while I have my super. And honestly, if you know how not to die, then you're going to have your super all the time. You'll always have your friends getting super energy, which is very, very, very helpful. Okay guys, that is the end of this video. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and comment below if you are absolutely excited for the new heroic raid. See you guys next time. Thank you guys, and God bless. Goodbye.